I woke up drowning in heat. Not the kind that comes from blankets or Seoul's summer humidity. This was alpha heat, thick and suffocating, pressing into me from all sides like I'd been buried alive in body warmth. My eyes snapped open to darkness, my heart slamming against my ribs as I tried to move and couldn't, because I was pinned. 4 bodies, 4 alphas. All wrapped around me like I was the center of some kind of fucked up star formation. One arm draped heavy across my waist, another hand tangled in my hair, a third alpha's chest pressed against my spine, his breath warm and steady against my nape. The fourth had my leg trapped between his scent, cedar and something sharper like smoke, mixing with the others until I couldn't tell where one ended and another began. And I had no idea who any of them were. Panic clawed up my throat. I tried to shift, to slip free, but the moment I moved, the arm around my waist tightened. Not rough, possessive, like whoever it belonged to had done this 1,000 times before and knew exactly how to keep me still. "Don't!" a voice rumbled against my back, low and sleep-ruined. "You'll wake the others." My breath caught. I didn't recognize the voice, didn't recognize the scent, didn't recognize anything about this situation except the sick, twisting feeling in my gut that something was very, very wrong. I forced myself to breathe, to think, to assess. 3 things hit me at once, each one worse than the last. First, the mating marks, 4 of them, burned into my skin like brands. One on my throat, one on my collarbone, one on the inside of my wrist, and the last just below my ear. They pulsed with heat, thrumming in time with my heartbeat, alive in a way that made my stomach turn. Second, the bond. I could feel them, all 4 of them. Their emotions bled into mine like ink spreading through water. Calm, possessive, satisfied. Like they'd won something. Like I was theirs. Third, I had no memory of how I got here. The last thing I remembered was the convergence ceremony. The one held every 5 years in Seoul, where the 4 alpha kings of the cardinal territories gathered to renew their alliance. I'd been there as an archivist, invisible, forgettable, exactly how I liked it. I'd been cataloging treaty documents in the back of the hall, keeping my head down and my sense suppressed like I always did. And then, nothing. Just a blank space where the last 12 hours should have been. "Let me go." My voice came out steadier than I felt. Good. I wasn't about to let these alphas, whoever the hell they were, see me crack. The one behind me shifted, and I felt his lips brush the mark on my nape. The touch sent a shock of heat straight through me, the bond flaring bright and hungry. I bit down on the inside of my cheek to keep from gasping. "Can't," he murmured, and I hated how his voice made something in my chest loosen. "Bond's too new. Separation will hurt." "You really want to feel that before you've even opened your eyes properly?" "I am awake," I snapped, "and I don't care about the pain. I care about getting out of this bed." "Mouthy." A different voice this time, coming from the alpha whose hand was in my hair. His fingers tightened slightly, not enough to hurt but enough to remind me he was there. "I like that." "I don't care what you like," I shot back, twisting my head to try and see his face. All I got was a flash of sharp jawline and dark eyes before he shifted, keeping himself just out of view. "I want to know what the hell happened last night." Silence. The kind that felt heavy, loaded with things no one wanted to say. Then the alpha at my front, the one whose leg was tangled with mine, let out a long, slow breath. "You don't remember." It wasn't a question. "No," I said flatly. "Do you?" Another pause, longer this time. "No." The words settled over us like ash. I felt my stomach drop. "What do you mean, no? You're telling me none of you remember how we ended up bonded?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you." The voice was calm, controlled, but I caught the edge beneath it. Whoever this alpha was, he didn't like not knowing things. "The last thing I remember is the convergence opening. After that, nothing." "Same," the one behind me admitted quietly. "Me too," said the alpha in my hair. The fourth one, silent until now, finally spoke, his voice rougher than the others, like he didn't use it often. "We were drugged." My blood went cold. "What?" Had to be, he continued. Memory loss this clean doesn't happen naturally. Someone wanted this to happen. I twisted harder this time, ignoring the way the Bond protested, and finally got a good look at the room. It wasn't mine. It was too big, too ornate. Silk sheets, dark wood furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Seoul skyline. A royal suite. And then I saw it. On the nightstand beside the bed, gleaming in the early morning light, a ceremonial blade. The kind used in bonding rituals. The kind that required consent, witnesses, and a very specific incantation to work. The kind that shouldn't exist unless we'd gone through the ritual willingly. Oh God, I whispered, the pieces clicking together in the worst possible way. We didn't just get bonded, we got married. The alpha behind me went very, very still. Fuck. The word hung in the air like smoke after a fire. I felt the shift immediately. All four of them went tense, their sense sharpening with something that tasted like alarm. The arm around my waist didn't loosen, but the hand in my hair stilled. Even the alpha at my front stopped breathing for a second. Married, I repeated, my voice climbing, despite my best efforts to keep it steady. We went through a bonding ceremony. That blade doesn't just appear for fun. Someone performed the ritual. Impossible. The alpha behind me finally pulled back enough that I could twist around to see him. My breath caught. He was gorgeous in that unfair way some alphas were, all sharp cheekbones and intense dark eyes, his black hair falling messily across his forehead. Late 20s maybe, definitely too composed for someone who'd just woken up in this disaster. The bonding ritual requires consent, explicit, verbal consent from all parties. Then how do you explain this? I yanked my wrist free and shoved it toward his face, showing him the mark there. It was still red, still fresh, the skin tender when I pressed my thumb against it. Or these. I gestured to the others burning on my throat, my collarbone, below my ear. His jaw tightened. I don't. Great, fantastic. So glad we're all on the same page. I tried to sit up, but 3 different hands moved to stop me. Not rough, but firm, immovable. My temper flared hot and bright. Let go. No. That was the quiet one, the 4th alpha. I still hadn't seen his face, couldn't place his voice, but something about the way he said it made my wolf bare its teeth. Excuse me. You heard him. The one in front of me shifted, and suddenly I was staring into eyes so pale they looked silver in the dim light. His face was all elegant lines and cold beauty, the kind that belonged on magazine covers, not wrapped around strange omegas in the middle of the night. The bond's too fresh. You try to leave now, the separation pain will drop you before you make it to the door. I'll risk it. We won't. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Oh, how noble. The big, strong alphas protecting the poor, helpless omega from himself. Newsflash. I didn't ask for your protection. And yet you have it anyway. The one with his hand in my hair finally leaned into view, and I had to swallow hard. Because of course he was beautiful too. They all were. Devastating, every single one of them, with that casual alpha confidence that made my skin prickle. His smile was lazy, amused, like this whole situation was entertaining rather than terrifying. The bond doesn't care what you asked for. It just is. Poetic, I deadpanned. Really, I'm touched. Now get your hand out of my hair before I bite it off. His grin widened. You know, I think I'm going to like you. The feeling's not mutual. Liar! Heat flooded my face before I could stop it. Because he was right, sort of. The bond hummed between us, warm and insistent, whispering that these alphas were mine, that I was safe, that I should just relax and let them hold me, and everything would be fine. But I'd spent the last 5 years learning not to trust my instincts when it came to alphas, especially not ones who looked like they could break me in half without trying. Look, I said, forcing my voice level, I don't know who you are. I don't know why we're bonded, but I'm not staying in this bed-playing house while we figure it out. So either you let me go, or I start screaming loud enough to bring every guard in this building running. Silence. Then the one behind me, the first one who'd spoken, let out a long breath. You really don't know who we are. Something in his tone made my stomach flip. Should I? Yes. He shifted, sitting up fully, and the movement pulled the others with him. Suddenly I was upright too, surrounded on all sides, trapped in a circle of alpha bodies in complicated sense. My name is Kang Minho. I'm the Northern Alpha King. Oh no. The silver-eyed one in front of me inclined his head slightly. Park Ji-ho, Eastern Alpha King. Choi Sung-jae, said the one with his hand still tangled in my hair, his grin never fading. Southern. The quiet one finally moved into my line of sight, and my breath stuttered. He was bigger than the others, broader, with a scar cutting through his left eyebrow that should have made him look dangerous but somehow just made him look tired. Yoon Tae-jin, Western, the four cardinal kings. I'd bonded with the four most powerful alphas in the country. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I dropped my face into my hands, pressing my palms against my eyes hard enough to see stars. This isn't happening. This is a nightmare. I'm going to wake up in my apartment, and this is all going to be some horrible stress dream. I wish. Minho's voice was dry. Unfortunately, we're all very awake. And very bonded, Jiho added. And very screwed, Sungjae said cheerfully. Taijin said nothing, but I felt his gaze heavy on me. I dragged my hands down my face and looked at them. Really looked. 4 kings, 4 territories, 4 alphas who probably had 1,000 enemies each, who ruled with power I couldn't even imagine, who were now tied to me through a bond none of us remembered making. We need to figure out what happened, I said finally. Who did this? Why? Agreed. Minho's expression was hard, calculating. But first, we need your name. Right. Because I'd been too busy panicking to introduce myself. I met his eyes, lifted my chin. Kim Hajoon. And I'm nobody. Not anymore, Sungjae murmured, his fingers ghosting over the mark on my wrist. Now you're ours. The bond flared hot and bright between us. I was so screwed. The words landed like a punch I didn't see coming. I'm not I said immediately, yanking my wrist away from Sungjae's touch. The bond protested, a sharp ache blooming in my chest, but I ignored it. I'm not anyone's. This whole thing is a mistake. Is it? Jiho's silver eyes tracked my face like he was reading something I didn't want him to see. Because the marks say otherwise. The marks are a lie. I pushed against Minho's chest, needing space, needing air, needing literally anything other than 4 alpha kings staring at me like I was a puzzle they intended to solve. Someone drugged us, you said it yourself, which means everything that happened last night was manufactured. Not everything. Taijin's voice was quiet, thoughtful. His hand came up slowly, carefully, like I was something that might bolt. His fingers brushed the mark below my ear and I gasped, sensation crackling down my spine like lightning. The bond wouldn't take if there wasn't something real underneath it. I slapped his hand away, heart hammering. Don't touch me. Why? Sungjae leaned closer, crowding into my space with that infuriating grin still playing at his mouth. Afraid you'll like it? Afraid I'll break your nose? He laughed, bright and genuine. Oh, I definitely like you. Sungjae. Minho's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Back off. Give him room to breathe. Surprisingly, Sungjae listened. He pulled back with a theatrical sigh, flopping onto his side of the bed. You're no fun when you're in king mode. Someone has to be rational. Minho turned his attention back to me, and I hated how his gaze made me feel pinned, studied. Hajoon, you said you're nobody. What does that mean? I met his eyes, kept my expression blank. Exactly what it sounds like. I'm an archivist. I catalog old documents and keep records no one reads. I was at the Convergence to file treaty paperwork. That's it. Just an archivist, Jiho repeated slowly, like he was tasting the words for lies. Just an archivist, I confirmed. Minho's jaw worked. And you have no idea why someone would target you specifically? No enemies? No political connections? I alphabetize papers for a living, I said flatly. My most controversial opinion is that the Dewey Decimal System is outdated. I'm not exactly making enemies. Taejin made a low sound in his throat. Not quite a growl, something thoughtful. Then they targeted us. You were collateral. The words settled heavy in my stomach because they made sense. Too much sense. Four Alpha Kings drugged at a major political event, forced into a bonding ceremony with a random Omega nobody would miss if things went wrong. It was the perfect setup for a scandal. Or worse. Who hates you enough to do this? I asked. Shorter list would be who doesn't, Shungjai said cheerfully. Jiho shot him a look. We have rivals, territory disputes, old grudges. The convergence brings them all together in one place, which means we're looking at potentially hundreds of suspects, Minho added, frustration bleeding into his scent, and zero evidence. Not zero. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, ignoring how my body screamed at the distance I was putting between myself and the Alphas. The bond pulled taut, uncomfortable but not unbearable. Yet. The ceremony required witnesses. Someone performed the ritual. Someone had to prepare this room, bring us here. There's a trail. Smart. Jiho's eyes glinted with something that looked like approval. You think like a tactician. I think like someone who wants answers. I stood carefully, testing my balance. My legs held. Good. And I'm not getting them by staying in this bed. I made it 3 steps before the world tilted. Pain exploded through my chest, sharp and vicious, like someone had wrapped barbed wire around my heart and pulled. My knees buckled. I heard someone curse, felt hands catch me before I hit the floor. Stubborn idiot! Minho's voice was rough in my ear as he lifted me like I weighed nothing, carrying me back to the bed. I told you, the bond's too new. Put me down, I gasped, but the words came out weak. The pain was still there, pulsing with every heartbeat, radiating from the marks on my skin. No. He set me down carefully, and immediately the other 3 moved closer. The pain eased as their scents wrapped around me, as their presence flooded the bond with warmth. Not until you stop trying to hurt yourself to prove a point. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I sucked in air through my teeth, hating how shaky I sounded. I was trying to leave. Same thing. Shungjae's hand found mine, his thumb rubbing circles over my wrist mark. The touch dulled the pain further, turned it into something almost bearable. You're ours now, Hajoon, whether you like it or not, which means your pain is our pain, and we're not big fans of pain. Then let me go. Can't. Jiho's fingers threaded through my hair, gentle in a way that made my throat tight. Bond won't let us. We're stuck with each other until we figure out how to break it. Or until we decide not to, Taejin said quietly. I turned to stare at him. What? His dark eyes met mine, steady and unreadable. Someone went to a lot of trouble to bind us together. Maybe we should find out why before we undo their work. You can't be serious. He's always serious, Shungjai said. It's exhausting. I'm practical, Taejin corrected, and I'm not convinced this bond is the disaster you think it is. My laugh came out bitter. I woke up marked by 4 strangers. How is that not a disaster? Because we're not strangers anymore. Minho's hand settled on my shoulder, warm and grounding. The bond made sure of that. Like it or not, we're connected now. We feel what you feel. And right now, I feel your fear. I flinched, because he was right. I was terrified. So here's what's going to happen, Minho continued, his voice dropping into something commanding, something that made my wolf want to listen, despite everything. We're going to figure out who did this. We're going to find evidence, and we're going to decide together what happens next. But first, you're going to stay close. No more trying to run. I wanted to argue, wanted to fight. But the bond hummed approval, my body relaxing against my will. Fine, I bit out. But I want answers, real ones, starting with what the hell happened at that ceremony. Agreed. Jiho stood, fluid and graceful. I'll summon the staff. Someone prepared this room. Someone knows something. And I'll check the security records, Minho added. Shungjai stretched like a cat. Guess that leaves me and Taejin on Hajoon duty. I don't need a babysitter. Too bad. Shungjai's grin was back, sharp and teasing. You've got 2. I glared at him. The bond purred. I was definitely, absolutely, completely screwed. If you're loving this story so far, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. things are about to get way more complicated. Minho and Jiho left within minutes, moving with the kind of efficient coordination that told me they'd worked together for years. The door clicked shut behind them, and suddenly the room felt smaller, warmer, too intimate with just three of us left. Seungjai sprawled across the bed like he owned it, which I guess he kind of did. Taejin stood by the window, his broad shoulders silhouetted against the Seoul skyline. Neither of them showed any sign of leaving me alone. "So," Seungjae said, propping his head on his hand to look at me, "what's an archivist doing at a royal convergence anyway? Seems like overkill for filing paperwork." My boss was sick. I pulled the sheet higher, suddenly very aware that I was still in yesterday's clothes, rumpled and probably reeking of confused omega scent. I was the only one available on short notice. "Lucky you." "Yeah, I'm feeling super lucky right now." I shot him a flat look. "Living the dream." His grin widened. "Sarcasm. I like it. You like everything." "Not true, I have very refined taste." His eyes dragged over me slowly, deliberately. "And you definitely meet them." Heat crawled up my neck. "Stop that." "Stop what?" "Looking at me like I'm dessert." "Can't help it." He sat up, moving closer with that predatory alpha grace. "The bond wants what it wants, and right now, it really wants to know what you taste like." My breath caught. "Seungjae, relax." He reached out, fingers ghosting over the mark on my collarbone. The touch sent sparks racing under my skin, made my wolf whine low and needy. "I'm not going to bite." Again. Reassuring. "Isn't it?" His thumb traced the edge of the mark. Featherlight, teasing. "Does it hurt?" "No." The admission slipped out before I could stop it. "It feels good?" His voice dropped, intimate and knowing. "Like every nerve ending is on fire in the best possible way?" I shoved his hand away, pulse hammering. "You're enjoying this way too much." "Someone has to." He leaned back, still grinning. "Minho's all business, Jiho's too serious, and Taejin barely talks. Might as well be the fun one." "Is that what you call terrorizing bound omegas? Fun?" "I call it flirting. There's a difference." "Not from where I'm sitting." "Then maybe you should sit closer." I grabbed a pillow and threw it at his face. He caught it easily, laughing, and the sound did something stupid to my chest. Made the bond hum warm and content. "You two done?" Taijin's voice cut through the moment, dry and unimpressed. I'd almost forgotten he was there. He hadn't moved from the window, hadn't turned around, but somehow I could feel his attention on us anyway, heavy and unwavering. "Jealous," Seungjae called over. "Annoyed." "Same thing." Taijin finally turned, and the weight of his gaze landed on me, like a physical thing. "You're scared of us." It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. "Wouldn't you be?" "Probably." He moved closer, each step deliberate. "But fear won't help you, not here. Neither will blind trust." "I'm not asking for blind trust." He stopped at the edge of the bed, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to see his face. "I'm asking you to use that smart mouth of yours to tell us the truth." "All of it." My stomach twisted. "I don't know what you mean." "Yes, you do." His hand came up, fingers brushing my jaw. The touch was gentle, careful, nothing like the commanding weight of his presence. "You're hiding something. I can feel it through the bond. Secrets pressing against your skin like bruises." I jerked back. "Everyone has secrets. Not from their mates." "You're not my mate." The words came out sharp, desperate. "You're four strangers who got tied to me against my will. That's not a bond. It's a leash." Something flickered in his eyes. Hurt, maybe, or understanding. "And if we cut the leash? If we find a way to break this bond, would you take it?" The question hung between us, loaded and dangerous. I wanted to say yes, wanted to mean it, but the bond twisted in my chest, protesting the very idea of separation, and I couldn't force the lie past my lips. "I don't know," I whispered finally. Taejin's expression softened. "At least that's honest." Speaking of honest, Seungjae sat up straighter, his playful mask slipping for just a second. "There's something you should probably know about the bonding ceremony." Ice slid down my spine. "What?" It doesn't work on unwilling participants. His eyes met mine, serious now. The magic requires consent, real consent, which means at some point last night, you said yes. That's impossible. Is it? Tajin's thumb brushed my cheekbone. Or do you just not want to remember saying it? My mind raced, grasping for fragments of memory that wouldn't come. Had I said yes? Had I wanted this? The thought was terrifying because part of me, some small traitorous part, whispered that maybe I had. I wouldn't, I said, but my voice shook. I wouldn't bond with four alphas I'd never met. That's insane. Unless you had a reason. Sungjai leaned in, close enough that I could smell his scent, warm and smoky. A good one. Like what? Temporary insanity? Like protection. Tajin's voice was quiet, certain. You're hiding from something, someone. And last night, drugged or not, you decided we were the safer option. You don't know that. Then prove me wrong. His hand slid from my face to my wrist, covering the mark there. Tell us what you're running from. I opened my mouth, closed it, because he was right. I was running, had been running for 5 years, ever since my gift manifested, and I realized what I could do, what I could see. Precognition, the ability to glimpse futures that hadn't happened yet, to see the threads of possibility branching out from every choice. It was rare, dangerous. The kind of power that made alphas see omegas like me as tools instead of people. If these four found out what I could do, would they still want to break the bond? Or would they decide I was too useful to let go? I'm an archivist, I repeated, meeting Tajin's eyes. That's all you need to know. Liar, but he said it gently, without heat. The door opened before I could respond. Minho stepped through, his expression grim. Jiho followed, tablet in hand. We have a problem, Minho said. My stomach dropped. What kind of problem? Jiho turned the tablet toward me. On the screen was security footage from last night, timestamp burning in the corner. It showed the four kings entering a private chamber, and there between them was me. Walking willingly, smiling, looking at them like I'd been waiting my whole life for this moment. That's not possible, I breathed. It gets worse. Jiho swiped to the next video. This one showed the ceremony itself. All 5 of us standing in a circle, hands joined, as someone I didn't recognize performed the ritual. And when the moment came for consent, when the officiant asked if I accepted the bond, I watched myself nod, heard my own voice say clearly, I do. The room spun. Hajoon. Sungjae's hand gripped my shoulder. Breathe. But I couldn't, because I just watched myself choose this, choose them, and I had absolutely no idea why. Play it again, I heard myself say, but my voice sounded distant, hollow. Jiho's finger hovered over the screen. Hajoon, I don't think that's a good idea. I said play it again. He exchanged a glance with Minho, then tapped the screen. The footage rewound, started over. I watched myself walk into that chamber, watched the way I looked at each of them like I knew them, trusted them. Watched my lips form those 2 devastating words. I do. That's not me. My hands curled into fists against my thighs. I mean, it is, but it's not. I don't remember any of this. The drug, Tajin said quietly. It didn't just steal our memories. It altered our perceptions, made us believe things that weren't true. Or made us act on things we wanted to be true, Sungjai added, his usual grin nowhere in sight. I shook my head hard. No, I wouldn't want this. I wouldn't choose to bind myself to 4 alphas I'd never even spoken to. Then why did you? Minho crouched in front of me, forcing me to meet his eyes. Because that footage doesn't lie, Hajoon. Whatever happened to our memories, whatever drug was used, you made a choice. We all did. A choice based on false information. Maybe. His hand covered mine, warm and steady. But the bond took anyway, which means on some level, beneath the drugs and the manipulation, there was something real enough to anchor it. I wanted to pull away, wanted to deny it, but his touch sent warmth flooding through the bond, and my traitorous body leaned into it like I was starving for contact. Who did this? I asked instead, redirecting. Who performed the ceremony? Jiho pulled up another image, a man in formal robes, face partially obscured by ceremonial veils. This is efficient Lee Sang-woo. He's been performing royal bonding ceremonies for 20 years. Impeccable reputation. Until now, I muttered. Actually, Ji-ho swiped to another screen, and his expression went carefully neutral. He's dead. The air left the room. What? Seung-jae was on his feet instantly. When? His body was found an hour ago in his quarters. Poison. Ji-ho's jaw tightened. Fast acting. Whoever wanted him silent didn't waste time. My stomach turned over. So our only witness is dead, and we have no idea who actually orchestrated this. Not entirely true. Minho stood, his whole demeanor shifting into something harder, more dangerous. Someone had to prepare that chamber. Someone had to dose all 5 of us with a drug strong enough to cause memory loss, but subtle enough we didn't notice. That requires access, knowledge, and timing. Inside job, Taejin said flatly. Has to be. Ji-ho set the tablet down, started pacing. The convergence had security tighter than a military installation. No one gets in or out without clearance, which means whoever did this was already inside. One of the staff, I said slowly, pieces clicking together, or one of the attendees, or someone we trust. Minho's voice went cold. Someone close enough to all 4 territories that they could move freely without raising suspicion. Seung-jae cursed under his breath. You're talking about council members, advisors. I'm talking about anyone with motive. Minho turned to Ji-ho. Pull records on everyone who attended. I want backgrounds, financial statements, known associates, everything. Already started. Ji-ho picked up his tablet again. But this is going to take time we might not have. Why? I asked, dread pooling in my gut. What aren't you telling me? The 4 of them exchanged weighted looks. The bond, Minho said finally. It's not just symbolic. By law, you're now consort to all 4 cardinal territories. Consort, the word tasted bitter. You mean I'm basically your political property. You're under our protection, Taejin corrected, which also means you're a target. Great, fantastic. This just keeps getting better. Hajoon. Ji-ho moved closer, his silver eyes intense. Whoever orchestrated this knew exactly what they were doing. Binding the 4 of us together creates a political nightmare. Territory alliances that have been carefully balanced for decades are now skewed. Power structures are disrupted, and you're at the center of it. Lucky me. We're not joking. Minho's hand found my shoulder, gripped tight enough to ground me. Until we know who did this and why, you can't leave this suite. You can't trust anyone outside this room. I don't even trust anyone inside this room, I shot back. Smart, Seung-jae said, but the bond makes lying to each other pretty much impossible. So at least you know we're being honest when we say we're just as trapped as you are. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Oh, good. We're all prisoners together. How romantic. It's not supposed to be romantic. Taejin sat on the edge of the bed, close enough that I could feel his warmth. It's supposed to keep you alive. And what about you? What about all 4 of you? I looked between them, frustration and fear warring in my chest. Someone wanted this bond to happen, which means they wanted to damage your territories, your reputations. Doesn't that terrify you? Constantly, Minho admitted. But right now, I'm more concerned about the 23-year-old Omega who got dragged into political warfare he didn't sign up for. 24, I corrected automatically. My birthday was last month. Something shifted in his expression, softened. Happy late birthday. Thanks, really feeling the celebration right now. Ji-ho's tablet chimed. He glanced down, then went very still. We have another problem. Of course we do. I dropped my head into my hands. Hit me. The footage. His voice was tight. Someone leaked it to the press. All of it. The ceremony, the bond. Everything. My head snapped up. What? It went live 10 minutes ago. He turned the screen toward us. News articles were already populating, headlines screaming about the scandal. 4 Alpha Kings secretly bonded to an unknown Omega. Speculation about manipulation, political plots, forbidden romance. My face was plastered across every major outlet. No! The word came out strangled. No, no, no. I'm supposed to be nobody. I'm supposed to be invisible. Not anymore. Seungjae's hand found mine, squeezed. Now you're the most famous Omega in the country. I'm going to be sick. Breathe, Minho commanded, his alpha voice cutting through my panic. We'll handle this. How? I looked at him, at all of them, desperation clawing at my throat. How do you handle the entire country knowing I'm bonded to you? Knowing I'm connected to the four most powerful alphas in Korea? The same way we handle everything else. His eyes met mine, steady and certain. Together. The bond pulsed warm between us, trying to soothe my panic. But all I could think was that whoever had orchestrated this, whoever had wanted me exposed, had just succeeded. And I had no idea what they'd do next. My phone started buzzing before any of us could move. Not just buzzing, exploding. Notifications flooding in so fast the screen became a blur of light and sound. I stared at it like it was a live grenade. Don't, Jiho said sharply, reaching for it. But I was faster. I snatched it up, unlocked it, and immediately regretted every decision that had led me to this moment. Texts from numbers I didn't recognize, emails from news outlets demanding interviews. Social media mentions climbing into the thousands. My face staring back at me from a dozen different articles, frozen in that moment from the footage where I'd smiled at the four kings like they were my whole world. They know everything, I whispered, scrolling through message after message. My name, where I work, where I live. Not anymore, you don't. Minho plucked the phone from my hand, powered it down. That apartment isn't safe. You're staying here. Here. I looked around the suite, at the bed I'd woken up in, at the four alphas watching me like I might shatter. With all of you? Yes. Absolutely not. It's not up for debate. His tone left no room for argument. Whoever leaked that footage wanted you exposed, wanted you vulnerable. I'm not giving them the satisfaction. So instead, I'm just supposed to what? Hide in your bedroom like some kind of political scandal that needs to be managed? You're not a scandal. Taejin's voice cut through my rising panic, calm and certain. You're our mate, and we protect our own. I'm not yours, I said for what felt like the 100th time, but the words were losing their edge. The bond hummed disagreement, warm and insistent in my chest. The bond says otherwise. Seungjae moved closer, invading my space with that casual alpha confidence. And right now, the bond is the only thing keeping you alive. Dramatic much? Realistic much? He cut my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. You think whoever orchestrated this is just going to let you walk around free? You're a liability now, Hajoon. A loose end. Ice slid down my spine. I don't know anything. They don't know that. His thumb brushed my cheekbone, gentle despite the harsh truth he was delivering. All they know is you're bonded to four kings, and that makes you dangerous. I pulled away from his touch, wrapped my arms around myself. This is insane. 24 hours ago, I was nobody. Now I'm apparently important enough to kill? Welcome to politics, Jiho said dryly. I hate politics. Most sane people do. Minho moved to the window, staring out at Seoul like he could find answers in the skyline. But hating it doesn't make it go away. We need to figure out who did this before they make their next move. And what if their next move is killing me? The question came out smaller than I intended. Then they'll have to go through us first. Taejin's hand settled on my shoulder, heavy and grounding. All four of us. I wanted to argue, wanted to push them away and insist I could handle this alone. But the truth was, I was terrified. More terrified than I'd been in 5 years, since the day my gift first manifested and showed me exactly how cruel the world could be to Omegas with power. The vision hit me without warning. 1 second I was standing in the suite, surrounded by 4 concerned alphas. The next, I was somewhere else. Sometime else. Watching a scene that hadn't happened yet play out like a movie behind my eyes. The same suite, but darker, colder. Minho on the ground, bleeding from a wound I couldn't see. Jiho's silver eyes wide with shock as someone I didn't recognize drove a blade between his ribs. Seungjae screaming, his usual grin replaced with raw terror. And Taejin gods. Taejin fighting 3 attackers at once while trying to reach me. Trying and failing. I gasped, the vision shattering. My knees buckled. Hajoon! Multiple hands caught me, lowered me carefully to the bed. What's wrong? What happened? I saw, my voice shook. I saw you all die. Silence crashed over the room. Then Minho was in front of me, his hands framing my face. What do you mean you saw? Saw how? And just like that, the choice was made for me. Hide what I could do and watch them walk into danger blind, or tell them the truth and risk everything. I have a gift, I said, the words tumbling out fast before I could stop them. Precognition. I see futures that haven't happened yet, possible outcomes branching from every choice we make. 4 pairs of eyes stared at me. Since when? Jiho asked carefully. 5 years. It manifested late, during a random heat. One minute I was normal, the next I was seeing things that hadn't happened yet. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Scared the hell out of me. Still does. That's why you've been hiding. Understanding dawned in Taejin's eyes. You knew what alphas would do if they found out. Use me. Control me. Turn me into a tool. I met his gaze. Precognition is rare. Valuable. The kind of power that makes people dangerous. So I buried it. Became nobody. An archivist who could fade into the background and never be noticed. Until last night, Minho said quietly. Until last night, I agreed, when apparently I decided trusting 4 Alpha Kings was safer than whatever alternative I saw coming. Seungjae let out a low whistle. So you can actually see the future. Possible futures, plural. Nothing set in stone. Every choice creates new branches, new outcomes. I rubbed my temples, exhaustion pulling at me. It's not as useful as it sounds. Mostly it just gives me headaches and existential dread. Can you control it? Jiho leaned forward, his tactical mind already working. The visions, can you trigger them? Sometimes, if I focus, but it's unpredictable. I looked between them, waiting for the fear, the calculation, the moment they'd realize exactly how valuable I could be to their political games. So now you know, I'm not just some random Omega, I'm a precog who can see threats before they happen. And you saw us die. Minho's voice was flat, controlled. Just now, you had a vision. Yes. Show me. I blinked. What? Your gift. Can you project what you see? Make others see it too? My heart stuttered. I've never tried. I don't even know if that's possible. Try now. He took my hand, his grip firm. If someone's planning to attack us, we need to know what we're up against. Minho, I don't think that's a good idea. The visions are intense. I can handle intense. His eyes met mine, steady and certain. Trust me. The irony of those words coming from an alpha I'd known less than a day wasn't lost on me. But the bond pulsed warm between us, and something in his gaze made me want to try. Okay, I breathed. But don't say I didn't warn you. I closed my eyes, reached for the vision still hovering at the edges of my consciousness, and pushed it toward Minho through the bond. His sharp intake of breath told me it worked, and when I opened my eyes, all 4 of them were staring at me like I'd just rewritten everything they thought they knew about the world. Holy hell, Seungjae whispered. You really can see the future. Told you. And someone's coming to kill us. Taejin's expression had gone hard, dangerous. Tonight, if we don't change the variables, yes. Minho's hand tightened on mine. Then we change them, starting now. This story is about to get wild. If you want to see how Hajoon and the 4 Kings survive what's coming, hit that subscribe button. You won't regret it. Trust me. How do we change them? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. The variables. How do we stop something I haven't even fully seen yet? We start by understanding what we're up against. Jiho was already moving, pulling up screens on his tablet. You said the attack happens tonight. Do you know when? How many attackers? I closed my eyes, reaching for the fractured images still burning behind my eyelids. 3, maybe 4. They come through the service entrance around midnight. Someone gives them access codes. Inside help, Taejin said grimly, just like we thought. Can you see who? Minho's hand was still wrapped around mine, his thumb tracing circles over my racing pulse. The person who lets them in? I pushed deeper into the vision, trying to sharpen the blurred edges. Pain spiked through my temples, sharp enough to make me gasp. I can't. It's too fractured. The future keeps shifting every time we make a choice. Then stop pushing. Shungjai appeared with a glass of water I hadn't seen him get. You look like you're about to pass out, and that's not helping anyone. I took the water, drank half of it in one go. I'm fine. You're trembling. I said I'm fine. Stubborn, he muttered, but his hand settled warm on my knee, grounding. At least that's consistent. Consistent with what? The words were out before I could stop them, and the room went quiet. 4 sets of eyes fixed on me with varying degrees of confusion. With last night, Shungjai said slowly, when we talked before the ceremony. My heart stopped. We talked. You don't remember. It wasn't a question. Jiho set down his tablet, moved closer. What do you remember about last night, before waking up here? I told you, nothing. The convergence hall, filing papers, and then blank. Not completely blank. Minho's gaze was intense, searching. You had a vision earlier, just now, which means your gift is still working. So push past the drug, past the memory loss. Show us what happened. I can't just summon memories like a parlor trick. You summoned a vision of our deaths pretty easily. That's different. That's the future. The past is... I trailed off, because he was right. My gift showed me what could be, but also what had been. Retrocognition, the flip side of precognition. I just never tried to use it on my own missing memories before. Try, Taejin said quietly. Please. The please got me. I nodded, closed my eyes, and reached backward instead of forward. The vision slammed into me like a tidal wave. Suddenly I was there, in a smaller chamber off the main hall. The 4 kings surrounded me, but they weren't strangers. They were looking at me like they knew me, like we'd been talking for hours. You're sure about this? Past Minho asked, his voice gentler than I'd heard it. Once we do the ceremony, there's no going back. I'm sure. My own voice clear and certain. You saw what I showed you. What's coming? This is the only way to stop it. By binding yourself to us. Past Jiho's silver eyes were troubled. Hajoon, you barely know us. I know enough. Past me stepped closer to them. No fear in my body language. I know you've been investigating the same conspiracy I have. I know someone wants all 4 territories destabilized. And I know that if we don't do this, if we don't create an alliance they can't break, a lot of people are going to die. Including you, Past Sungjai said softly. Especially me. I watched myself smile, sad and resigned. I saw that future too. The one where I stay nobody. Where I keep hiding. It ends with me dead in an alley 3 weeks from now. Killed for what I know. Past Hajoon moved closer, his hand coming up to cut my face. And you think bonding with 4 alphas you met 6 hours ago is a better alternative? I think bonding with 4 alphas who actually listened when I told them about the corruption, who believed me when I showed them proof, who are willing to risk their political standing to do the right thing. Past me leaned into his touch. Yeah, that's a risk I'll take. The memory shifted, fast-forwarded. Now we were in the ceremonial chamber. The officiant was speaking, but I couldn't hear the words over the pounding of my heart. Do you accept this bond? The officiant asked me. I looked at each of them in turn. Saw something in their eyes I hadn't let myself acknowledge until now. I do, Past me said. And then the marks burned into place, and I felt it. The moment the bond snapped tight between all 5 of us. The rush of emotion, relief and terror, and something dangerously close to hope. The vision released me. I opened my eyes to find all 4 of them staring at me with expressions I couldn't read. We knew each other, I said, my voice rough. Before the ceremony, we'd been investigating together. You believed me about the conspiracy. What conspiracy? Minho asked carefully. I don't know. The memory's still fractured. Frustration burned hot in my chest. But it was big. Important enough that I was willing to bond with you to stop it. And we were willing to bond with you, Jiho added. Which means we trusted you, believed in your gift. More than that, Shungjai's hand found mine, threaded our fingers together. You showed us futures, showed us what would happen if we didn't act. We didn't just trust you, Hajoon. We chose you. And you chose us, Taejin finished quietly. The words settled over me like a weight, because he was right. I had chosen them. Drugged or not, memory loss or not, At some point last night, I looked at 4 alpha kings and decided they were worth the risk. Why would someone want us to forget? I asked. If we were working together, if we had proof of something, why not just kill us? Why the elaborate setup with the drug and the ceremony? Because dead kings create martyrs. Minho's expression had gone cold, calculating. But discredited kings? Kings embroiled in scandal, accused of forcing a bond with an unwilling Omega? That destroys legitimacy, destroys power. They wanted to neutralize you politically, I realized, make you too controversial to be effective. And it would have worked, Jiho said grimly, if you hadn't been able to prove the bond was consensual, if we hadn't had that footage. But someone leaked the footage anyway, Shungjai frowned, which means either they wanted the scandal despite the consent, or there's something else we're missing. I stood abruptly, pacing. Something bigger than just political embarrassment. Like what? I opened my mouth to answer and another vision hit. Shorter this time, sharper. A face I recognized from the convergence. A council member, handing something to the attackers I'd seen earlier. Oh gods, I whispered. It's not just about discrediting you. It's about replacing you. What? The attack tonight? It's not random. I turned to face them, pieces clicking into horrible place. Someone on your council is planning a coup. They needed you bonded and distracted so you wouldn't see it coming. Minho's expression went deadly. Who? I can't see clearly enough, but whoever it is, they have access to everything. Your security, your staff, your schedules. My hands clenched into fists. And they're planning to strike during the transition of power ceremony tomorrow. Tomorrow, Jiho cursed under his breath, the official presentation of the new consort bond, when all 4 territories send representatives. It's the perfect target, Taejin agreed. Maximum casualties, maximum chaos. And we're supposed to be too busy dealing with the scandal to notice the real threat. Seungjai's usual grin was nowhere in sight. Clever. Also terrifying, I added. Did I mention terrifying? You didn't have to. Minho pulled me close, his hand sliding into my hair. But we're not going to let it happen. How? We don't even know who we're fighting. Then we make them show themselves. His eyes met mine, fierce and certain. Together. The bond flared warm between us, and for the first time since waking up in this mess, I felt something other than fear. I felt ready. Define, make them show themselves, I said, already not liking where this was going. We set a trap. Minho's hand slid from my hair to my shoulder, grounding and possessive. Use the ceremony tomorrow as bait. Bait? I stared at him. You want to use me as bait? Not just you. All of us. Jiho was already pulling up schematics on his tablet. They're expecting us to be distracted. Unprepared. We give them exactly what they want, then turn it on them. That's insane. That's tactical. Taejin moved to look over Jiho's shoulder. They won't expect us to know about the coup. That's our advantage. Our advantage is that I can see the future and you're all apparently suicidal. I crossed my arms. What happens when my vision changes? When they adapt because we change the variables? Then you see it and we adapt faster. Seungjae's grin was back, sharp and dangerous. That's why you're not bait, Hajoon. You're our ace. Before I could respond, a soft knock echoed through the suite. Everyone froze. Minho moved first, positioning himself between me and the door. Taejin and Jiho flanked him, a wall of alpha protection that would have been touching if it wasn't so terrifying. Seungjae stayed close to me, his hand finding mine. Stay behind me, he murmured. Wasn't planning on heroics, I whispered back. Your Majesty, a female voice called through the door. I have the refreshments you requested. Minho and Jiho exchanged glances. We didn't request refreshments, Jiho said quietly. My gift flared without warning. I saw the door opening, saw the woman stepping through with a tray, saw the exact moment she'd pull the concealed blade and lunge for Minho's throat. Don't open it, I shouted. Too late. Taejin had already turned the handle. The door swung open and the woman stepped inside, tray balanced perfectly in her hands. She looked exactly like my vision, down to the nervous smile and the way her eyes darted between the kings. Your refreshments, she said again. I watched her hand shift toward the hidden knife. Time slowed. My gift exploded outward, showing me a dozen futures branching from this moment. In most of them, someone died. In a few, we all did. But there was one thread, one possibility, where I acted first. I didn't think. I just moved. My hands shot out and I felt something inside me crack open. Some door I'd kept locked for 5 years because I'd been too scared to see what was behind it. Power flooded through me, hot and electric, and suddenly I wasn't just seeing the future, I was changing it. The woman's knife clattered to the floor before she could draw it. Her eyes went wide, confused, like her body had acted against her will. Because it had. I'd seen the future where she attacked, and I'd reached into that moment and shifted it. Pulled the probability thread where she dropped the weapon and made it real. What? She gasped, staring at her empty hands. How did you? Precognition, I said, my voice shaking, with a side of probability manipulation, apparently. Surprise. Minho moved like lightning. He had her restrained before she could blink, one hand locked around her wrists, the other retrieving the fallen blade. Who sent you? His voice was ice. She laughed, bitter and broken. You think I'm going to tell you? They'll kill me either way. Then you have nothing to lose by talking. Jiho crouched in front of her, his silver eyes sharp. Who's planning the coup? I don't know names, just orders. She was trembling now, fear bleeding through her scent. They said to eliminate the Northern King during the distraction. Make it look like an accident. What distraction? Tajin demanded. Her eyes flicked to me. The Omega. They said once he was taken, you'd all be too unstable to think clearly. The bond would make you reckless. Ice flooded my veins. Taken? Tonight, during the midnight attack. She looked almost apologetic. I'm sorry, I didn't want to do this, but they have my daughter, said if I didn't help, they'd kill her. The admission hung heavy in the air. Shungjai cursed softly. They're using hostages to force cooperation, which means there are others, I realized. Other staff members, other operatives, all coerced. How many? Minho's grip on the woman didn't loosen, but his voice gentled slightly. How many people are involved? I don't know. They keep us separated, but enough. Her voice cracked. Please, my daughter is only 6. I can't let her die. I felt something shift in my chest. This wasn't some faceless conspiracy. These were real people, trapped and desperate, being used as weapons. We'll find your daughter, I heard myself say. All 4 kings looked at me, but I kept my eyes on the woman. Tell us everything you know, and we'll get her somewhere safe, I promise. Hajoon, Minho started. I can see if she's lying, I interrupted. Another fun precog trick. If she tells the truth, we help her. If she doesn't, I let the sentence hang. The woman's eyes filled with tears. She's being held in the old storage facility near Gangnam. Building C, 3rd floor. There are guards, maybe 3. I closed my eyes, reached for the future. Saw the building, saw a small girl crying in a locked room, saw the guards exactly where the woman said they'd be. She's telling the truth, I confirmed. Jiho. Minho's voice was command and request all at once. Send a team. Get the child out. Already on it. Jiho was typing rapidly on his tablet. Thank you, the woman sobbed. Thank you. Don't thank us yet. Tajin's expression was grim. You're going to tell us everything about tonight's attack. Every detail. She nodded frantically. They're coming through the service entrance at midnight. 4 men, maybe 5, all trained fighters. They have access codes to bypass security. Who gave them the codes? I asked. I don't know, I swear. Everything was compartmentalized. Another vision flickered. I saw the attackers arriving, saw them moving through the building with practiced ease, saw them reach this suite and find it empty, because we'd already left. We can't be here when they arrive, I said suddenly. We need to move, now. Where? Shungjai asked. I thought fast, pulling threads of possibility. The ceremonial hall. It's public enough that an attack would draw attention, but private enough we can control the space. And if they follow us there, Minho challenged, then we spring the trap early. I met his eyes. They want chaos. Let's give them chaos on our terms. A slow smile spread across his face, dangerous and approving. I knew I liked you. You bonded with me. You're legally obligated to like me. True, but I would have liked you anyway. His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. You're terrifying when you're tactical. Learned from the best, I said, even though we'd only known each other consciously for a few hours. The bond hummed warm between us. We move in 10 minutes, Minho announced. Jiho, coordinate with security. Taijin, weapons. Seongjai, get Hajoon something less conspicuous to wear. Why me? Seongjai protested. Because you're the only one who won't try to dress him in formal robes. Minho's grin was sharp. We need him mobile. Fine, but I'm picking something that shows off his marks. Seongjai's hand found mine, pulled me toward what I assumed was a closet. If we're doing this, everyone needs to see exactly who he belongs to. I don't belong to anyone, I said automatically. Keep telling yourself that. He pushed open a door, revealing more clothes than I'd seen in my entire life. Now let's make you look like the most dangerous Omega in Seoul. I caught my reflection in a mirror, rumpled, marked, exhausted, and for the first time in 5 years, not hiding. Let's do this, I said. Seongjai dressed me in black, fitted clothes that moved like water and showed every mark burning on my skin. He wasn't subtle about it either, adjusting the collar so the bite on my throat was visible, rolling up my sleeves to expose the one on my wrist. There, he said, satisfaction rich in his voice. Now you look like ours. Possessive much? Absolutely. He pressed a kiss to the mark below my ear, sending heat spiraling through me. Deal with it. The ceremonial hall was massive, all vaulted ceilings and polished marble that echoed our footsteps. Minho had cleared the space of staff, leaving just the 5 of us and a handful of trusted guards positioned at strategic points. They'll come, I said, tracking possible futures like threads of light. 20 minutes, maybe less. Good. Jiho checked his weapon one last time. We're ready. But I wasn't sure I was. My gift was still raw, unpredictable. The probability manipulation I discovered was new enough that I didn't trust it. What if I couldn't control it when it mattered? What if I saw someone die and couldn't change it fast enough? Hey, Tajin's hand settled warm on my shoulder. Stop spiraling. I'm not spiraling. You're practically vibrating with anxiety. His thumb rubbed circles against my neck. Breathe. We've got this. You don't know that. No, but I know we've got you. His eyes met mine, steady and certain. And that's enough. Before I could respond, my gift flared, vision slamming into me with crystal clarity. The attackers were here. They're early, I gasped, coming from the east entrance. 6 of them, not 4. Positions, Minho commanded. Everything happened fast. The doors burst open. Men in tactical gear flooded in, weapons raised. But we were ready. Taijin moved like violence incarnate, disarming the first 2 before they could fire. Jiho's shots were surgical, precise, taking out weapons instead of lives. Minho fought with brutal efficiency, every move calculated to disable. And Seongjai fought like he was enjoying himself, which was somehow more terrifying. I stayed back like they'd told me to, watching futures branch and shift with every decision. When I saw one attacker slip past Taijin's guard, I reached out with my gift and pulled the thread where he tripped instead. The man went down hard, confusion written across his face. Nice, Seongjai called, grinning even as he blocked a knife strike. But then I saw it. The real threat. Not the attackers we were fighting, but the one we'd missed. A figure in council robes stepping from the shadows, weapon aimed directly at Minho's back. Counselor Park Hyunwoo, one of the Northern Territory's most trusted advisors. Minho, I screamed, but I was too far away, too slow. I watched the future where the shot fired, where Minho fell, where everything we'd fought for crumbled. So I did the only thing I could. I reached into that moment with every ounce of power I had and changed it. The gun misfired. The bullet went wide. And in that split second of confusion, Taijin was there, tackling Hyunwoo to the ground. The fighting stopped. The attackers, seeing their leader captured, surrendered. I dropped to my knees exhausted. Changing that future had cost me something, pulled energy I didn't know I had. My vision blurred, body shaking. Hajoon! Multiple voices called my name, but it was Minho who reached me first, gathering me against his chest. I've got you. You're okay. Changed it, I mumbled against his shoulder. Saw you die. Changed it. I know. His arms tightened. I felt it through the bond. You saved me. Saved all of us, Jiho corrected, moving to check Hyunwoo's restraints. That was the counselor orchestrating everything. Why? I asked weakly. Hyunwoo laughed, bitter and broken. Because you were going to discover the embezzlement, all four of you working together with that cursed Omega gift. He spat the words like poison. I spent years building my fortune, and one precognitive nobody was going to ruin it. So you tried to discredit us, Minho said coldly. Destroy our reputations. I tried to kill you. But that bond, Hyunwoo's expression twisted with hatred. It made you stronger instead of weaker, made you trust each other, love each other even. The word hung in the air. Love. I felt the bond pulse warm between all five of us, felt the truth of it settling into my bones. Somewhere between waking up confused and fighting for our lives, between visions and trust and choosing each other over and over, it had become real. Take him away, Minho ordered the guards, and find everyone he coerced. Get them protection. As they dragged Hyunwoo out, I felt myself slipping, the adrenaline crash hitting hard. Whoa! Seungjae caught me as I swayed. Easy there, hero. Not a hero, just tired. You literally changed reality to save us. Taejin's hand found mine, squeezed gently. That's pretty heroic. Also insane, Jiho added. But we'll workshop the terminology later. Minho lifted me effortlessly, cradling me against his chest like I weighed nothing. Let's get you somewhere you can rest. The ceremony tomorrow, I mumbled. Is canceled, he said firmly. We're taking time to recover, to figure out what we actually want instead of what someone forced on us. And what do you want? I asked, looking between all four of them. Honestly? Seungjae's grin was soft now, genuine. I want to see where this goes. The real this. Not the bond we don't remember making, but the one we're choosing now. Same, Taejin agreed quietly. I want to know you, Jiho said. Really know you. Not just the precognitive weapon or the Omega who saved us. You. Minho's eyes met mine, warm and certain. I want you to stay. Not because of the bond or politics or duty, but because you want to. My throat tightened. That's a lot of pressure. Then don't answer now. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. Take time. Heal. Figure out what you want. We'll still be here. Promise? Promise. He pressed his forehead to mine. We're not going anywhere. The bond hummed approval, warm and content. 3 weeks later, I stood in the same ceremonial hall, dressed in formal robes that Seungjae had personally selected. The four kings stood with me, hands joined, as we renewed our vows. But this time, I remembered every word. This time, when the officiant asked if I accepted the bond, I looked at each of them in turn. Saw the men they'd become to me. Minho's strength and protection, Jiho's brilliant mind, Taejin's quiet steadiness, Seungjae's joy and light. I do, I said clearly. I choose this. I choose you. All of you. The marks on my skin flared bright and warm as the bond settled deeper, stronger, rooted in choice instead of chance. And when they kissed me, one after another, tender and possessive and real, I felt something I hadn't felt in 5 years. Safe, seen, loved. The future stretched out before me, bright with possibility. Not perfect, never perfect, but ours. And that was more than enough. Later, curled between all four of them in a bed that finally felt like home, Seungjae whispered against my hair. So, was it worth it? All the drama and near-death experiences? I thought about waking up confused and terrified, about discovering my gift could do more than I'd ever imagined, about 4 alpha kings who'd become my partners, my protectors, my choice. Yeah, I said, smiling against Minho's chest. Totally worth it. The bond pulsed warm between us, and I let myself drift off to sleep, surrounded by my mates, my family, my future. If you made it this far, thank you so much for sticking with Hajoon's wild journey. This story was a roller coaster, and I hope you loved every twist. If you want more emotionally charged, plot-twisting, steamy BL omegaverse stories like this one, smash that subscribe button. Seriously, you won't regret it. More chaos, more romance, More precognitive omegas saving the day coming your way. Thanks for watching till the end. You're amazing.